Alright, what's going on everybody? Anime Rainbow back with another episode. Today we will be discussing Kaiju number 8, chapter 74. What is going on? Well, if you remember where we left off from the last chapter, the Vice Captain of the 3rd Division, Vice Captain Hoshina, finally got to debut his numbered weapon 10 suit. The first suit ever to be created with a will of its own. This is explained because it is said that the Vice Captain and number 10 do not have a 100% perfect neuro sync, meaning that they have to have some form of communication. And in this case, it seems that all of number 10's influence and power comes from its tail. It's the only part that it can actually control, because when you're reading the chapter, it's kind of jarring a little bit at first. At the end of last chapter, essentially, or the beginning of this chapter, excuse me, the Vice Captain understood that he is not going to get anywhere trying to just outright control Kaiju number 10. The way that he got a workaround is because he tapped into number 10's just raw innate wanting for pure combat. He allows number 10 to take control, because if you remember at last chapter, the syncing between Hoshina and the Vice Captain was faltering, right? It kept falling and falling and falling. It got down to 30%. But during this chapter, because the Vice Captain, he did this skillfully, right? He is intentionally poking number 10, saying, oh, you failed. The shards hit me. Oh, well, I expected more from you. We're only at 70%. This is kind of a letdown. He's tapping into that and allowing number 10 to just run the show. But in allowing him to run the show, it's apparent that the Vice Captain can at points just take control back. He allows number 10 to do his thing, and then he puts his swords away and was like, yeah, time's up. I've already taken care of it. And my whole thought process was like, how did you get to this point of just taking control back? Just overpowering number 10 to a point to where he doesn't get it, he can't see it, and he doesn't feel it. That's besides the point, but it's something that you really want to, keep in mind moving forward, especially if this is going to be a running rule for how suits can work moving forward. So he allows 10 to take over. He's running through all of these different creatures. He's taking down the boss. He's doing his thing, and while all of this is happening, the percentage that he is outputting continues to rise and rise. 30%, 40%, 50, 60, 70, 77%. And the science lady and the science dude are just sitting there like, I don't understand how this is happening. I don't understand what is going on. Well, I don't think any of us really do. Like it was stated from the science lady last chapter, the number 10 suit is a prototype. Number 10 in and of itself as a kaiju is a prototype. This goes back to what I said earlier in my last video, is that you're just not going to know. There's going to be so many outliers to this suit. But nonetheless, they're able to take the situation. They're able to beat the situation. They're moving on. They're just running through these creatures left and right. And it's just a powerful moment. It's a powerful moment. And you have Hoshina actually make the comment, it's weird to have somebody who is carving the path for him for a change instead of him being the one that cuts the path for Mina. What does this mean for the future of the Defense Force moving forward in this one battle? If Hoshina is able to clear this area, you can have the 3rd Division advance forward. You can have them make a move in order to help out other divisions if they're able to resolve this issue as fast as humanly possible. We still don't see any Dai Kaiju in this particular area pop up. Mina hasn't came across one. The Vice Captain hasn't came across one. We still don't know where Kafka is, and Kikoru's doing her thing with the 1st Division. Kafka's not going to pop up. I don't know why I brought him up, because he's a part of the 1st Division. It is going to be interesting to see which route they choose to go and how they choose to advance forward, and what other area and what other defense force they're going to help back up. Because there really hasn't been a Dai Kaiju appearance in any one particular area, and we know Kikoru is making the scene to the 1st Division, I'm wondering who is going to come across the Kikoru Hikari clone that we saw initially lead off this entire attack. Who is going to reach her first? If the Vice Captain in this situation is able to just get to her, that's what it seemed like it's setting up as, because this wasn't anything in particular, right? These weren't necessarily strong kaijus, yonjus, honjus, however they're classified as. They weren't necessarily strong, they weren't talking, they just seemed like fodder at the end of the day. The real struggle for this entire battle was the neural sync that was going between the Vice Captain and Kaiju number 10. With that being said, I expect nothing but pure action coming from this. There's really not a time for dialogue. The plans, you really can't have plans, and the best course of action is just to make sure that your infrastructure is staying up. Communication is probably going to be first. You need to make sure the radio towers are secure. You have to make sure the water is not going to be polluted, contaminated, or just outright stopped, because you need the fresh water. Oil, you power everything you run with oil. Electricity is fine, but that nice good backup is what you want. There's a lot that can be said about this chapter, but a fight scene is good. It's going to look great when it's animated, when it does its thing, but without any real direction from the last chapter, and with everything popping up the chapter before last, there's only so much speculation you can do. I would imagine that you, as the Defense Force, would want to shut down their form of communication. That's what I get from the brain kaiju that we saw at the very, at the very start of all of this entire war. You want to shut her down because essentially she's able to communicate amongst all of the Daikaijus and all of the kaijus, I would imagine. So she mentioned that she was calling her friends. If you're calling your friends, you can talk to them. She's organizing this whole fiasco, so taking her out would definitely be best case scenario, or maybe capturing her to try to figure out anything else, any more intel that comes from Kaiju number 9. But I think I've rambled on long enough. If you made it to the end, thank you. If you are new, go plus ultra and smash the subscribe button. Let me know you rock with the content that I put out on the channel. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Comment on the video your thoughts about what you think is going on. Do you think that the number 10 weapon suit is going to be decommissioned, but they seem to have gotten their shit together, at least in some capacity? And by gotten their shit together, I mean that the vice captain is smart enough to know how to manipulate number 10 to get what it is that he wants out of number 10, which was just a functioning suit that he could use to not die. So I will keep the content coming frequently, as infrequent as humanly possible. I'm out.